becomes more. Before we begin, a few words that really matter. So stay with me for these. Everything you are about to see runs inside an isolated lab that we own and fully control. ATTACKRX is a character. No real company is targeted and no real system is ever touched. We reveal how the attack works for one reason only, so that defenders like you can learn to catch it. Never use anything you learn here against a system you do not own or that you don't have clear written permission to test. Unauthorized access is illegal, and what you choose to do with this knowledge is entirely your responsibility. So let's use it the right way, learn, secure, and defend. Now let's begin. 0 to 40 in the morning, a domain controller DC01 and an account finance SVC just locked itself out. Becomes more than another, then a third. The night shift analyst sees the lockouts stack up and does exactly what he's trained to do. He tightens the policy, three bad tries and you're out, and it works. Attack RX's brute force, hammering one account with a word list of 1,000 passwords, dies on the third guess. The door slams, the account freezes, he gets locked out before he gets in. But here's the thing about a lockout, it only counts failures per account. It never asks the other question. It never asks, is one machine failing against everybody? So attack RX stops guessing. He does the opposite. He takes one password, just one, and he tries it against every user in the company. Once each, low and slow, he is not attacking an account anymore, he's attacking the crowd. Becomes more. Welcome back to Cyber Talks. I'm Goutham, and here we play both sides. Today's technique is brute force, password spraying. In MITRE attack, this is technique T111110.003. It lives in credential access, and it is quietly one of the most effective ways into a real network, precisely because it's built to walk straight past the lockout. So here's the idea. Simply, a normal brute force is a burglar with one door and a giant ring of keys. He jams key after key into the same lock until an alarm goes off. Password spraying flips it. Now the burglar has one key, the master key that too many people use, and he walks down a hallway of 100 doors, trying that one key once on each. No single alarm ever trips because no single door was rattled twice. Becomes more, and in a company of 1,000 people, somebody somewhere used that key. And what is that one key? It's the password humans keep reaching for. Season and year, autumn 2026, exclamation mark, the company name and a one, welcome and the month. Spraying works because password policies made everyone predictable in the same way, and all it takes is one match out of 1,000 accounts to hand the attacker a real valid login. Here's the terrain: an active directory domain DC01 and the users behind it. Alongside it, the cloud, the same identities mirrored into Entra ID and Microsoft 365, two front doors, one set of people, and Attack RX only needs one of those doors to swing. So he builds his list, becomes more. Every username he harvested during recon in a file, users.txt, and one password. He reaches for a tool called netexec, and the command is this: netexec smb 10.0.0.10 dash u users.txt dash p autumn 2026 exclamation dash dash continue on success. Read it slowly. One password, the whole user file, one attempt each, and that flag continue on success means don't stop at the first win, keep going, find them all. He runs it and watch the pattern: fail, 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 fail. Every account shrugs off one wrong password. One failure is nothing, it's a fat finger, it's a Monday. The lockout counter never even flinches because no account sees a second try, and then one line comes back green, a plus sign, a valid credential. Becomes more. In the noise of 1,000 harmless failures, one real login, and he doesn't even need the on-premise domain. He can throw the exact same spray at the cloud, at Entra ID, at Microsoft 365 through legacy authentication. Old protocols, IMAP, POP, SMTP, basic auth, that were built before modern security. And here's the ugly part: a lot of those legacy paths don't enforce multi-factor. So a spray that hits legacy auth can walk past MFA entirely. That's why it's a favorite. So that's the attack. Now let's flip the glass and sit down inside the sock. And here's the blind spot. The reason this technique is so dangerous: every single one of those failed logins is real, and every one of them landed in a log. Becomes more. On the domain controller, Windows security event 4625, a failed login. In the cloud, the Entra sign-in logs, the data is all there, but the per account rules, the lockout, the 5 failures on one user alert, they never fire because each account only ever saw one failure. From the account's point of view, nothing happened. The attack is invisible as long as you're only watching one door at a time. So we have to hunt differently. We stop asking which account is failing a lot, and we start asking the spraying question: In a short window is one source failing against many different accounts. Flip the axis, don't count failures per user, count distinct users per source. That is the shape of a spray. That is the thing the lockout can't see, and there it is. Becomes more. We pull 4625 group by source address and a 15-minute window and count the distinct accounts. And one internal address lights up one machine in 15 minutes failing against 11 different users. Not one account, 11 times 11 accounts, once each. No human logs into 11 identities. That's not a person, that's a spray mid swing. So we turn it into a rule in Microsoft Sentinel using KQL security event, where event ID equals 4625, summarize accounts equals d count of target account by IP address, and bin time generated into 15 minutes where accounts is greater than or equal to 5. Becomes more. Read it plainly. For each source in each 15-minute window, count the distinct accounts it failed against and flag any source that touched 5 or more. We are not counting failures, we are counting victims. That's the whole trick. Same logic in Splunk against the Windows event index. Index equals event log, event code 4625, bin underscore time span 15 minutes, stats, DC of account underscore name as users by underscore time, and source underscore network underscore address where users greater than or equal to 5. Same behavior, same threshold, distinct users per source per window, two platforms, one idea. Now the professional notes, because this rule can cry wolf, becomes more a password reset storm after an outage can look like one server failing against many users excluded. A shared kiosk or a broken service account can spray failures all day. Baseline it. Known vulnerability scanners allow list them, and here's the senior move. Raise the severity in two cases. One, when the spraying source after all those failures finally throws a 4624 a success. That pivot spray, then success is the alarm that actually matters. And two, when the spray is hitting legacy authentication, because that's the path that skips MFA. But know your enemy. A patient attacker sprays low and slow, one password today, another next week, and spreads it across many source addresses. Stretch it wide enough and it slips under any single window. Becomes more, which is exactly why you also watch the identity layer across time, not just one 15-minute box. Now we investigate. First question, did any account from that source come back with a 4624 a success? Because a failed spray is a near miss, a successful one is a live intruder. Build the timeline, the burst of failures, then the exact moment one turned green, and pivot on that account. Where did that credential log in next? What did it touch? Was the spray on-prem or against Entra legacy auth? And if it's cloud, is MFA even enforced on that path? And the question underneath all of it is this one password or the first of many? Because praying is patient. Today's miss is often tomorrow's login. So how do we shut this down? Becomes more. First, multi-factor everywhere with no legacy exceptions. A sprayed password with MFA behind it is a dead end. Then smart lockout, the cloud kind that watches the source and the pattern, not just the per user count. Banned password lists. Kill autumn 2026 and company one before a human can ever set them. Disable legacy and basic authentication. Close the door that skips MFA entirely. Conditional access. Trust the login less when it comes from a strange place, and build the detection we just wrote. Alert on the one source many accounts pattern, so the spray is loud even when every failure is quiet. And now my favorite move, deception. We seed honey accounts into the directory. Becomes more. Real looking identities, nobody uses them, nobody should ever touch them. They exist for no reason at all except to be sprayed. No legitimate login ever reaches them. So the instant one sees a single authentication attempt, even one failure, you know that's not a typo. That's an attacker walking the hallway trying the master key on every door. One touch on a honey account equals a spray in progress. Caught red-handed with almost no false positives. Let's lock this in interview style, because you will be asked these. What is the difference between password spraying and a brute force guessing attack? And why does spraying beat account lockout? Which log sources and event IDs reveal a spray? And why do per account alerts miss it completely? Becomes more. Right, the detection logic. What do you count and per what? Why is legacy authentication such a dangerous spray target, and how does it relate to MFA? And what's the single most important pivot? Once you've spotted a spray, pause the video, answer each one out loud. If you can, you own this technique. And with that, the spray is caught, the one match is contained, and the attacker's quiet walk down the hallway ends at a honey account instead of a real one. Cerberus is protected. Becomes more. Tonight you saw how a lockout pushed attack RX from guessing to spraying. Why one password against 1,000 accounts slips past every per user rule. How we flip the axis and count victims per source in Sentinel and Splunk. and how MFA killing legacy auth and a single honey account shut the whole thing down. Before you go, thank you. Truly, every minute you spend here is a minute you become harder to breach, and that is the whole point of this channel. If this made even one attack easier for you to catch, then we did our job tonight. So, do a few quick things for me: subscribe and turn on notifications so the next breakdown reaches you the moment it drops. Leave a comment and tell me which technique you want to see next becomes more, and share this with someone in the cyber world who needs it, because the more defenders who can see this coming, the safer all of us are. Thank you again for spending this time here. You've been with Cyber Talks with Gautam. Attack, detect, investigate, defend. I'll see you in the next one.